I think this has got to be the easiest top I've ever crocheted, and I will be showing you exactly how to make it in this video. So I would say that making this top is pretty straightforward. We're gonna start by making a double crochet foundation chain, and if you don't know how to do that, I will show you how to make one in this video. So we're gonna make a foundation chain, join both ends of the foundation chain together, and then we're gonna work in the round in order to create a tube, and then that's it. So it's definitely a very simple top to make, but it ends up being so cute. I love it so much. I'm definitely gonna be making more of these tops, and I hope that you guys make some as well, but that's all I have for the intro. So now let's start making our tube top. I will be using a fingering weight merino yarn and a 4mm hook. This is the label for my yarn. So it's called Winter Lights by Koigu Yarn. And this is the back of the label. The recommended hook size for this yarn is anywhere from 2 to 3.25 millimeters. But by sizing up my hook a size or 2, it'll give me a more drapey end results, which I personally prefer. So a fingering weight yarn with a 4mm size hook. But you can use any size yarn or any size hook that you prefer when making this top. So in order to make this top, we're gonna start by making a double crochet foundation chain, which looks like this. So this is our double crochet foundation chain. And we want our double crochet foundation chain to measure entirely around our bust like this. And we want to make sure that it's very tight when measuring it around our bust. And this is going to be the start of our top. And this double crochet foundation chain is going to be at the very top of our top. So it's just going to go like this, and we're going to work our way downwards. So first I'm going to show you exactly how to do a double crochet foundation chain. So even though I'm going to be using this yarn for making this top, I'm going to use this yarn really quickly in the beginning here when showing you how to start off our double crochet foundation chain, just because this yarn is a little bit easier to see on camera when I'm showing you what to do for this double crochet foundation chain. So we're gonna start by making a slip knot. I'm gonna place the loop of my slip knot onto my hook and tighten the loop. So to start, we're gonna make a chain of 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And next I'm going to yarn over and then insert into this first chain right here, but we're going to be inserting into this loop and the back bump loop of the first chain. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to insert into this loop and the back bump of this first chain that we did. So that's what that should look like. And now I'm going to hook my yarn and pull up a loop. So now I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to hook my yarn again and pull up another loop. And now I have 3 loops on my hook once again. And now I'm going to hook my yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops. And now I'm going to hook my yarn again and pull it through the last 2 loops. So the chain of 4 that we started off with counts as our first double crochet stitch. So this counts as our first double crochet stitch. And what we just did right here is our second double crochet stitch. So next I'm going to be doing something similar. So we're going to yarn over. And now I'm going to insert my hook into the 2 loops of this little V right here. So I'm going to be inserting right here into the 2 loops that sort of look like a V. So I have my yarn over and I'm going to insert into this first loop and then into the loop right next to it, like that. And now I'm going to hook my yarn and pull up a loop. So I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to hook my yarn again, pull up another loop. I have 3 loops on my hook once again. And now I'm going to hook my yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops, and then hook my yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. And now we have just finished making our 3rd double crochet stitch right here. So now I'm going to do the same thing, but it's going to look slightly different. So I'm going to yarn over, and then I'm going to insert into the 2 loops, just how we did previously, but now it looks a little different. So pretty much each time we're making a new double crochet stitch, we're going to be inserting into the base of our previous double crochet stitch. So this right here is our previous double crochet stitch, and we're going to be inserting into the base of the double crochet stitch. So this is the base of our double crochet. And when we flip it around like this, it looks like a little V. And when we insert into it, we insert into the 2 loops that create a little V. So I'm gonna do this again on camera. So yarn over, and now I'm inserting into the base of our previous double crochet. So right here, inserting into the first loop. I'm gonna use my nail to help guide it onto my hook. And then I'm inserting into the loop right next to it. And now I'm going to hook my yarn and pull up a loop. Then I'm going to hook my yarn and pull up a loop once again. And then I'm going to hook my yarn and pull my yarn through the first 2 loops, then hook my yarn and pull it through the last 2 loops. So this is what it's looking like so far. We now have a total of 4 double crochet stitches in our double crochet foundation chain. So I'm going to do it one more time with you. So yarn over, insert into the base of the previous double crochet, but I just want to point out that it's really important that you insert just into the 2 loops that create a V. So like that, and not just loosely into the bottom of this stitch right here, because if you're not specifically just inserting into the 2 loops, it's easy to insert into the entire stitch, and then you end up bringing a 3rd loop as well, but we don't want that. We specifically just want to insert into 2 loops. The 2 loops that create the V. So now I'm going to pull up a loop, hook my yarn, pull up another loop, hook my yarn, pull it through the first 2 loops, then pull it through the last 2 loops. So that's pretty much all we have to do in order to make a double crochet foundation chain. So now that I've shown you how to do it with this yarn that's easier to see on camera, I'm going to switch back to the yarn that I'm actually going to be using for making this top. And I already have a few double crochet stitches completed, and as you can see, yeah, it's a lot harder to see our stitches with this yarn, so that's why I wanted to show you how to do a double crochet foundation chain with this yarn instead of the yarn I'm using for making the top. Now I'm just going to show you once on camera how it looks to crochet the double crochet foundation chain with this yarn right here. So each time that we yarn over, insert into the base the previous double crochet, pull up a loop for the second time, pull the yarn through the first 2 loops, pull the yarn through the last 2 loops, we create a double crochet stitch. So every time we do that, we create another double crochet stitch. So we just want to continue making double crochet stitches the way that I just showed you until our double crochet foundation chain reaches a length that measures tightly around our entire bust. So as you can see, I have finished making my double crochet foundation chain, and you'll know that your double crochet foundation chain is long enough once you wrap it around your bust and stretch it very tightly, and it goes all the way around your bust and connects like this. And you want to make sure that it is fully stretched out and as tight as you can make it. Since we're making a tube top, we want to make sure that it's tight enough that it doesn't fall down. I made the mistake of not making my first tube top like this tight enough, which is this top right here. It was tight enough at first, but then the more that I wore it, the more that it stretched out. And then it just hasn't stretched back. So what I ended up having to do is I made a little chain, and I just add a little strap in the center here that just wraps around my neck. So now this top is no longer a tube top, but instead it's a halter top. So in case your top ends up being a little too big in the end, just know you can just add a strap in the front here to turn it into a halter top, and then you can easily still wear it. But I'm just giving you this tip so that you know you have to make it tight enough if you want to wear this top as a tube top. When I first made this top, I measured it not as tightly as I'm measuring it now. When I wrapped it around my bust, I didn't pull very tightly. I just pulled so it was slightly stretched out. And as you can see, when I don't fully stretch out my foundation chain, the two ends don't connect. But when I stretch it as much as possible to make it extremely tight, it does connect. So this is how tight we want it to be. So for reference, I made my double crochet foundation chain a total of 90 double crochet stitches long. Of course, you're probably gonna have a different measurement than me based on the circumference of your bust, but I just wanted to let you know what my stitch count was, just as a reference. So next up, we are going to join in the round. So we're not gonna be working straight rows like this. We are going to connect both ends like this, and we're gonna be working in the round, like a little circle. Doing it this way saves us from doing a bunch of sewing at the end, since we're literally just gonna be crocheting a tube. And then once you're done crocheting the tube, you have your tube top. So that's why this top is super easy to do. So to join in the round, we're gonna connect this end of our double crochet foundation chain to our starting end. So first, I want to make sure that my foundation chain isn't twisted. So we're creating a little circle like this, and now we're gonna join these two ends. So this is how we're joining it, like this. So we're gonna start by inserting our hook into the top of our very first double crochet stitch, which is actually the very top chain right here of our first 4 chains that started off this double crochet foundation chain. Because if you remember, like I mentioned earlier, the chain of 4 that we started off with acts as our first double crochet stitch. So I'm just going to insert my hook into the very top chain right here, like that. And now I'm going to take my yarn that's still connected to where we just finished off our double crochet foundation chain, and I'm going to pull my two ends close, and now I'm going to hook my yarn and pull it through both loops in order to create a slip stitch. And now by doing that, I have joined both ends in order to join in the round. And now I'm going to start the second round. So I'm going to start by making a chain of 3. So 1, 2, and 3. That's what that looks like. And now I'm going to turn my work around, and now I'm going to work down the opposite direction. So now I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to insert my hook into the first double crochet in this direction right here. So I want to insert into this stitch right here, into this V, and you want to make sure that you're not inserting into this little V right here, because that's the slip stitch that joined our round. So yarn over, insert into the top of our first double crochet in this direction, and I'm going to pull up a loop. Now I have 3 loops on my hook, and now I'm going to hook my yarn, pull it through the first 2 loops, hook my yarn again, and pull it through the last 2 loops. So the chain of 3 that we did acts as the first double crochet of this round, and then what we just did right here is our second double crochet. So I'm going to do another double crochet here on camera. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to insert into the next stitch, which is this one right here. Hook my yarn, pull up a loop, and now hook my yarn, pull it through the first 2 loops, hook the yarn again, pull it through the last 2 loops. And now I've just created my third double crochet stitch of this round. So pretty much we're just going to be crocheting 1 double crochet stitch into each stitch in the round. So I'm going to do a few more here. There's another double crochet, insert into the next stitch. So yeah, 1 double crochet into each stitch in every single round. So this is so the rest of this round is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to just crochet it off camera, but then I'll make sure to come back once I've reached the end of the round, and I'll show you what to do once you reach this point right here. Okay, so I've just finished crocheting all the way around, and now I'm nearly at the end of round 2. So if we look closely here, I just have 1 more stitch to insert into. So I have my yarn over, inserting into the next stitch, and doing a double crochet. So now I have to join these 2 points right here, similarly to how I joined the two ends of the first round. So I'm going to look at this chain of 3 here that I started the round with, and I'm going to insert into the top chain, so the 3rd chain that I crocheted. So I'm just going to insert. I'm gonna hook my yarn and just pull it through the loop in order to create a slip stitch. So now I've joined the end of round 2 to the start of round 2, and now I'm going to start round 3. So I'm gonna start round 3 the same way that I started round 2. So I'm going to make a chain of 3. So 1, 2, and 3. And now again, I'm going to turn my work around. So I'm just gonna flip it this way, and I'm gonna work backwards. So the reason that we flip our work after each round is because our double crochet stitches will have a slight slant to them. So if we never flip sides, eventually everything will look slightly slanted. So by switching sides after each round, it'll create more of a zigzag, like going like this, like this, like this, like this, instead of a long slight slant. So after flipping my work around, I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to insert into the first stitch in this direction, which is this stitch right here, because I'm not inserting into this stitch, which is the slip stitch that joined the round. So I'm inserting into the next stitch and doing a double crochet stitch. Yarn over, I'm gonna insert to the next stitch, do another double crochet, and now I'm just going to continue crocheting 1 double crochet stitch into each stitch in the round the same way that I did in the previous round. And then once I reach the end of this round, I'm going to join the end of the round to the start of the round the same way that I did with round 2, which is joining with a slip stitch, then making a chain of 3, turning our work around to start round 4. So I am just going to continue crocheting pretty much all my rounds off camera, and then I'll come back to show you what to do once you reach the very end. Since the rest of the top is just done exactly the same way as like the rows that I just showed you how to do, we're pretty much just doing, the same thing over and over again until we finish making it. So the only thing that you have to figure out now is how many rows you want to crochet for this top, which totally depends on how long you want this top to be. So I'm gonna go for a little bit, and then I will come back probably a different day and show you what to do once you reach the end of your top. So I have officially finished crocheting my top. So now I'm going to cut my yarn, maybe that long, not too short, and fasten off. So now I'm going to hook my yarn and pull it through my loop to fasten off. So now all I have left to do is I have to now weave in my ends. So I have a few loose ends to weave in here. So the one at the bottom, the one at the top, and I did run out of yarn at one point, and I had to start with a new ball of yarn, so I have to tie those ends together and weave them in as well. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll come back to show you what this top looks like on. So I just finished weaving in all my ends, but I just realized that I actually forgot to show you something. So if we take a look at the very top of this tube top, so where we joined our double crochet foundation chain at the very start, there should be an opening that we need to close. And if we take a look, you can't see it because I already closed it, and that's what I forgot to show you how to do on camera. So what I did is I just worked up a little mini version of the top. I mean, like it's not top, but I just worked up a few rows in the round so that I can show you what to do. So if we take a look here, this is our double crochet foundation chain, and I joined in the round, and as you can see, there's a little opening here that we don't see on this top right here, and that's because I already closed it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this tail yarn right here, and we're just gonna join this point to this point right here of the double crochet foundation chain just to close this little opening right here. So I'm taking my darning needle and I'm threading my tail yarn through my darning needle, and now we are just going to close this opening by inserting our needle into the top corner of our foundation chain and just pulling my yarn through. We are going to close the opening. And by doing that, the start and end of our foundation chain blends into the rest of the top pretty nicely. So I'm just gonna sew a few more stitches here. And then I'm gonna tie a knot. And then if this were my actual top, like this one right here, I would weave in this end, and that's it. Also, there's one more thing I just want to quickly mention. So when we're tying our knots and weaving in all our ends, once we finish crocheting this top, you want to make sure that you're tying your knots and weaving in your ends on the inside of the top so that it doesn't show on the outside. But both sides of the top are the same, so you just gotta choose which side you wanna make the inside and which side you wanna make the outside. So we have officially finished making our top. I hope you guys found the instructions easy to understand. If there's any part of it that confuses you, if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to ask them in the comments and I will do my best to respond. But hopefully you guys were able to follow the instructions and able to make your own tops like this because they're so cute and they're honestly so perfect for the summer. Like I'm definitely gonna be wearing these tube tops a lot. Actually, I made this one with merino, which if you're making these tops specifically to wear in the summer, and if you experience very hot summers where you live, then I don't really recommend making it with merino yarn because even though it's a tube top, which is nice for summer, the merino makes it very warm, and I'm currently a little warm wearing this. But if you were to make this top with a cotton yarn, a cotton blend yarn, linen, or silk or any sort of summer fiber, then I think this top would be perfect for wearing in the summer. Also, I just want to quickly mention, so earlier in this video, I showed you the first tube top that I made. Actually, let me just grab that. Where is it? Where is it? Where? Okay, so this one right here. I love the colorway of this top so much, so I'm probably gonna end up taking it apart and redoing it so that it's as tight as this one because this one I made, I think like 5 stitches smaller, like around, and it made a huge difference. So I just wanted to mention that just so you know that you want to make sure that this top is tight enough so that it actually is able to stay up on its own. But if it ends up being a little too big once you finish making the whole thing, you don't have to take it apart. I would just do the same thing as what I did with this top and crochet a chain and then just use it as a little strap to kind of pull it up in the middle to turn it into a halter top. But if you specifically want a tube top, then make sure you're making it tight enough. So just remember, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, when you're making your double crochet foundation chain and measuring it around your bust, make sure you're pulling it as tight as you can. But yeah, I think that covers everything. So I'm going to end this video here, but thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and oh, I totally forgot. If you take any photos of the top that you make and you post them on Instagram, please tag me at Danica Makes Things, which is the same as my YouTube handle. Yeah, because I would love to see the tops that you make. That would make me really, really happy. So yeah, don't forget to tag me if you do post photos. Now that's officially all I have to say. So I'm gonna go, but thank you guys for watching. Bye!